The interstellar trading vessel Boundless Horizon slowed as it approached the edge of the restricted space. Captain Trell nervously tapped his 3 fingers against the control panel. This sector was well known throughout the Galactic Concordat. System Sol, home to a species called humans. Proximity alert to restricted zone, announced Navigator Pax. Regulation states we must maintain distance of at least 3 million kilometers from the outermost human settlement. Trell nodded. The warning had been hammered into every spacefaring species for the past 2 centuries. Do not engage humans. They are off limits. Maintain course along the border. We'll use their system's gravity well to slingshot toward the Centauri trade route, Trell ordered. It would save them considerable fuel without breaking protocol. As the ship curved along the invisible boundary, Science Officer Lumi approached the captain's chair. Sir, I've been analyzing the transmissions from the human worlds. Their technological advancement rate has increased by 17% since our last pass. Concerning, but not our problem, Trell replied. The Concordat had been clear. Humans were to develop in isolation until they either destroyed themselves or matured enough to join galactic society. The ship lurched suddenly, claxons blaring throughout the bridge. Status report, Trell demanded. Engine failure in sectors 3 through 7, called Engineer Dox over the comm. Unknown cause. We're drifting, sir. Drifting toward the restricted zone. Trell's scales paled. Full emergency power to stabilizers. Reverse thrusters. No response, sir. Systems failing across the board. The navigator's voice trembled. At our current trajectory, we'll enter Earth's atmosphere in approximately 4 hours. Silence fell across the bridge. Everyone knew what this meant. In the early days of space exploration, 3 different species had attempted contact with humans. None of those expeditions had returned intact. The frightened survivors told tales of a species with inexplicable abilities, incredible adaptability, terrifying creativity, and most disturbing of all, unpredictability. The Concordat had quickly placed Earth under quarantine. Send the distress signal, Trell ordered. Perhaps the patrol fleet can intercept us before. Communications array is offline, interrupted Communications Officer Vex. We're on our own, sir. As the ship continued its inexorable descent toward the blue-green planet, Trell made a decision that went against everything he'd been taught. Prepare the landing protocols. If we can't avoid them, we'll have to engage with the humans. 3 hours later, the Boundless Horizon made an emergency landing in a remote forested area on the northern continent. Scans showed a small human settlement approximately 5 kilometers away. Remember your training, Trell addressed his crew, of 12. No sudden movements, no showing of teeth. Keep communication simple. If threatened, surrender immediately. He didn't mention the final protocol, the emergency self-termination implants they all carried to prevent technology from falling into human hands. They hadn't traveled far from the ship when they heard rustling in the underbrush. A single human appeared, dressed in simple coverings, carrying a primitive cutting tool. It stared at them with wide eyes. Greetings, Trell said through the universal translator. We mean no harm. Our vessel is damaged. The human's reaction was not what they expected. Instead of fear or aggression, its face contorted in what their xenopsychology training identified as amusement? Well, the human said, you folks are definitely not from around here. The human, who introduced himself simply as Tom, led them back to his dwelling, a modest structure built of local materials. To the crew's shock, he seemed completely unfazed by their alien appearance. You're not surprised to see us? Vex asked cautiously. Tom shrugged. Been expecting something like this my whole life. Most of us have. You're not the first strange things in these woods. Over the next days, as Engineer Dox worked to repair their ship, an extraordinary thing happened. Tom brought other humans, first his family, then neighbors. None showed fear. Instead, they offered food, materials, and assistance. Children approached with curiosity rather than terror. This contradicts all our research, Lumi told Trell privately. According to Concordat files, humans are aggressive, territorial predators. Perhaps the files are outdated, Trell suggested. On the fifth day, when government officials finally arrived, the crew expected imprisonment or worse. Instead, they were met with formal introductions and offers of diplomatic relations. "We've been watching your Concordate for decades," explained a human representative named Lee. "Your communication encryption is, well, let's just say it's not as secure as you believe." Trell was stunned. "You've been monitoring us?" "Of course. Ever since we reverse-engineered the drive system from that unfortunate Gen Scout ship that crashed back in 2079. The implications were staggering. Humans had been space-capable for over a century, but had chosen to remain within their system, quietly observing the galaxy around them. Why remain isolated? Why not announce yourselves?" Lee smiled. "We read your warnings about us. Do not engage humans. They are off-limits. We decided to respect that while we learned more about galactic politics. It seemed prudent." As repairs neared completion, Trell faced a momentous decision. The emergency signal had failed. No one knew of their contact with humans. They could leave, report nothing, and maintain the status quo, or they could tell the truth. Standing before his assembled crew, Trell made his choice. The Concordate feared humans because they are different, unpredictable, adaptable, and creative, in ways our species are not. But those very qualities that frightened us are their greatest strengths. He looked around at the humans who had helped them without question. "I believe it's time for the galaxy to engage with humans, not because they're dangerous, but because we have much to learn from each other." As the boundless horizon lifted off days later, it carried not just its original crew, but also 3 human diplomats bound for Concordate space. The quarantine was over. The warning sign that had kept 2 civilizations apart would soon be replaced by a different message.